Let Roses Burn. Our girl said,
Hey.
top 3 people who have passed away that you wish you could have met. For her, it's Jacques Cousteau, Diane Fossey, and Marty Stauffer.
Oh man, gosh, that's a
lineup.
That's a fucking list right there. I grew up with Jacques Cousteau. Was a huge fan of Diana Fossey and what she did with Gorillaz, and obviously Mutual of Omaha. I mean, that's a solid list. For me, mine might not be as animal related because obviously Steve would be one for sure. I mean, 100% for sure. Outside of the animal side, I think it might be Steve Jobs might be probably on that list.
I agree.
And then probably, maybe some, yogi or something, some like real spiritual, like a, Gandhi type of guy, you know what I mean? Like
Gandhi probably would have been cool, man.
I think that, those are, 3 really wildly different genres, right? Animal, business and spiritual. I'd like to have met probably those 3 people to try to see what, I mean, I think sitting down with any one of those 3 people, you would come away a better person.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I'm thinking Isaac Newton.
Sure, yeah, of course.
Yeah, so Isaac Newton, I think maybe Frank Sinatra.
Oh, he'd be good.
I feel like classy. Yeah. Another one of those dudes with the gold ring and the turtleneck.
He owned the world, yeah.
Yeah, and then I think the other one would have to be Nikola Tesla.
Yeah, Nikola Tesla.
I know that would be up there for you too, because
it would be. Yeah, I've been a huge Tesla fan. I mean,
these guys were tapped into the Akashic Records, boy.
Yeah. I mean, that's even before Elon Musk. I was a huge Tesla fan, and obviously, I think Elon's really taken on
that role.
Similarities.
Almost. It's crazy.
I think they're very similar. So I think people will talk about Elon Musk like we talk about Nikola Tesla now.
I agree 100%.
So yeah.
Nick says, who started Morph Market?
Wow,
that's a good question.
Unfortunately, I'm sorry I don't know the answer to this. Whoever started is probably going to hate me for not knowing this because him and Lori have had a relationship since they started, and he is a great guy to Lori. Like they take Morph Market is great to us. I mean, really, really, really great to us, and has been great to us since the very start. So I'm sorry, I haven't personally been involved. A lot of people may or may not know this, but I don't do a lot with BHB these days. As far as I work with the animals. I breed
just doesn't
stuff.
Do sales.
I don't do sales. I don't have anything to do with the website. I don't know what's for sale, what prices are. I breed, I hatch, I mark what they are, and then I walk away. Just because I've told people I don't get enjoyment out of selling snakes. I never have really in my whole career. That's been one that it's always been a means to an end. I sold snakes so I could continue to work with snakes. So now Lori does that. So I don't know who started it, and I'm sorry that I don't, but I know that they're great people. And like I said, Lori.
I just looked it up. It says the founder's John Lemon or Leman. I don't know. It says that Morph Market was created by John Lemon, a native to the suburbs of Dallas.
Okay.
So there's your actual answer.
Yeah, that's probably the case. And I'm so sorry to John if that's you, that I don't know because I'm just so separated from that part of the world. Lori knows his cell phone number, so she can tell you that, but I don't, unfortunately.
Simple Man came back, said, what is your worst customer experience?
It's rare for me to have bad customer experiences. And again, like I said, now I don't talk to customers very often, hardly ever. I say once a year or so I have to get in a
call or something, right?
And the last one was we sent out a Brooks King to somebody, and they wanted to keep the animal, but they didn't like the classification of what we said it was. It was like some albino jelly. He was saying it wasn't an albino jelly. I don't even care. I don't even know if it's an albino jelly. I had nothing to do with it. But he was berating Beth, who is amazing, literally like cussing her out, swearing at her and stuff like that.
I actually remember this.
Yeah, this happened just a month and a half or so ago. And I had to get on the phone and tell him what I thought.
What I thought was
I just said, you never talk to my staff this way, period. And I said, you want to return the snake, I'll cover the shipping, I'll give you your money back. Well, I don't want to return a snake. Then what the hell do you want? Well, I just want blah, 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 blah. And I said, well, we'll do whatever you want, but you cannot swear and cuss at my fucking people. That's not acceptable.
That's not how we work.
Period. And ultimately, I told him, I said, I'll never, you are no longer allowed to buy from us, period. We will not sell you a snake ever again because of the way you treated my people. So that happens maybe once a year, once every other year. I get something like that. And the thing that was weird about that one was he liked the snake. He wanted the snake. He didn't have a problem with the snake. Bizarre. And I don't even really know what the whole situation was, but I just know that when Beth, who can handle almost anything because she's amazing, when she comes to me flustered, and it's like, I can't talk to this guy because he keeps calling me a bitch.
Yeah, they're being shitty.
He was calling her a bitch. He was like, I mean, you just can't do that. And now I step in, and I'm sure this guy probably hates me because I ripped into him hard, and I don't do that ever. But, I will protect my employees every single time, So it happens, I mean, it's just the way, when you're dealing with, but it's for the amount of customers that we deal with, it's very rare. I mean, very, 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 very rare. So, but yeah, I mean, there's plenty of stories like that over the years, but it happens once in a blue moon.
Ace Club says, I can recall in the late 90s at local expos, vendors selling African rocks to people whom obviously had little knowledge of the species and their size. Yeah. Thoughts on how this may impact hobby industry?
Well, I mean, it's a tough one, right? Because, there's this fine line between like not allowing people to buy a giant snake and letting people buy a giant snake. You know what I mean? It's like, where do you want to fall? Do you want to fall on the and there's arguments on all sides, that you could say like, well, if we just allow everyone to buy every retic and Burmese and rock python that they want to buy, eventually legislation is going to come down that's going to stop that because it's dangerous or something like that. But on the flip side, you could say, well, why should I be punished because I've been keeping big snakes for 33 years. Why should I be punished because maybe, little Timmy doesn't know what he's doing with the big snake? So it's a really difficult thing. I probably, number one, I do fall on the line that I think most people probably shouldn't have giant snakes.
I also agree.
But I also fall on the line that I don't think we should regulate people for not having it. I am not opposed at all to having a permit system, including, I like the way Australia does things. Some other countries do this where you have to have X amount of hours of volunteer time before you can buy maybe a Class A animal, Class B animal, Class C animal.
Seems smart.
It seems like, to me, that seems like the way to solve the problem. Say like you're not allowed to have a big snake unless you have a Class A python permit. And to get a Class A python permit, you have to have 100 hours of volunteer time with Class A pythons. That's reasonable to me. That's reasonable. We don't give people a driver's license before you go to driving school, right? And so I don't think that would be like, I know there are some people like, oh, take my big snakes, right on my dead hands, I'm not one of those guys. I believe that we, as a hobby, we could probably preemptively not pass legislation, but self-regulate and be at the actual table negotiating so that my great-grandkids could still keep a giant snake.
Right.
Because if we're going on the path we're going now, there's a good chance my grandkids won't even be able to keep giant snakes, right? So yes, do I think people, is it over, like, I mean, I think it's crazy that, you could call, you don't even have to call. You could just go online and order a Gaboon Viper, and it's shipped to your house in certain states without even a phone call.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's the same thing with big snakes. I think that there should be some self-regulation. That being said, I am not at all in favor of stopping people from doing it because my experiences with big snakes have been some of the most amazing experiences of my life.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
If someone told me I couldn't do that, I wouldn't have had all those experiences. So we have to somehow fall on, I think, again,
education has a lot to do with it too. If you educate people, like for instance, I would say if I never watched your videos or say any videos on giant snakes, I probably would get one.
Right.
But because I've learned how intelligent they are and how they interact with their environment, like I know I can't keep them properly, so I'm not going to keep them.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel like a lot of people would change their mind. You know what I mean? But
yeah, I agree. I agree that, and I think just being smart about it. I mean, we just have to be smart about it. But I want people to be able to have big snakes
forever.
I really
It's
do,
important.
because they're amazing, amazing, amazing animals, and I couldn't imagine my life being anywhere where it is now without having those experiences with them. So, but we'll see. Hopefully we fall on the smart side on this one.
Anthony Batista asks, if you had to start BHB over again, would you start with just ball pythons or diversify with colubrids? Love the podcast. Keep up the great work, guys.
Well, me personally, I would always be diversified, because I like working with a lot of different animals. You know, I don't get the satisfaction of just working with ball pythons or just working with corn snakes. I like working with different things, the challenges that they bring, the excitement that it gets. You know, they're very different. You know, having a milk snake or a corn snake or a garter snake to have live babies, or sand boas or ball pythons having eggs. Everything is very different, right? You know, when you have children's pythons, or you have Savu pythons, or Brazilian rainbow boas, there's a lot of excitement to me to have diversity. But you got to remember, now I'm not looking at things as much as from an investment standpoint. You know, I think that, you know, if you're talking about starting a business, getting overly diversified sometimes can be a problem, right? It's easy to lose focus on what works and what doesn't work. So I think if I were going to start a business, I may be more focused on one species or a couple species. If I was just looking at it purely as like, hey, I'm starting a business and I want to thrive in this business, I think I would learn to do those 2, 3, 4 species really, really well.
You could always have projects on the side for fun.
Right, yeah, and that's exactly what I would do. But that being said, you know, I don't have to ever think about that again. So for me, it's always about diversification, because I get the most. As a matter of fact, now we're trying to get more diversified than we've ever been. You know, I'm buying snakes that I never have worked with.
Or even seen.
Yeah, I mean, I do buy snakes that I've already worked with, you know, different mutations and stuff like that. But most of the animals I buy now are animals I've never worked with ever, because I want new challenges, and I want, you know, Dion's rat snakes or wolf snakes or I mean, you know, you name all the Boega stuff, and it's giving me a you know, that keeps me excited about, you know, learning a new species, a new way to do things, you know, so it's pretty cool. Can we rail this in?